somewhere between her front door and her car, she vanished. No scream, no struggle, no goodbye. Just a wet towel on the bathroom floor, an outfit laid out for the day, and a silence that would stretch for nearly 2 decades. This is the story of Jennifer Kesse, and the last person that ever saw her has never been identified. But since the Florida Department of Law Enforcement took over, everything changed. And now after 20 years, this is why Jennifer's case is no longer cold.
Codex.
Orlando, Florida, January 2006. The city is warm, busy, and full of young professionals building their lives in the Florida sun. Jennifer Kesse was one of them. 24 years old, sharp-minded and driven, Jennifer had already accomplished what many her age were still chasing. A finance degree from the University of Central Florida, a career as a finance manager at a timeshare company in Oki, and just recently, and a milestone she was proud of, her very own condominium in Orlando. She was, by every account, a woman who had it together. The weekend before she disappeared, Jennifer was in St. Croix, in the U.S. Virgin Islands, on vacation with her boyfriend. By Sunday, January 22nd, she was back home. She spent that night at her boyfriend's place, then drove straight to work Monday morning in January 23rd, 2006. A completely ordinary day, or so it seemed. That evening, she called her father from the car at around 6:15 p.m. They talked. Everything was fine. Later that night at 10 p.m., she and her boyfriend said their goodnights over the phone. He was the last known person to ever speak to Jennifer Kesse. The next morning, she never called. She never texted. She never showed up to work. Jennifer had a routine. Every single morning before leaving for work, she would call or text her boyfriend. On the morning of Tuesday, January 24th, nothing came through. He called her straight to voicemail. He assumed she had an early meeting she'd mentioned, brushed it off, and went about his day. By late morning, Jennifer's employer, alarmed by her uncharacteristic no-call, no-show, contacted her parents in Tampa. Her mother and father immediately got in the car for the 2-hour drive to Orlando. On the way, they asked the condominium manager to check on her with a spare key. He went inside. Everything looked normal. Her car, however, was gone. When her parents and brother arrived at 3 p.m., what they found inside stopped them cold. Not because of chaos, but because of order. A wet towel, clothes laid out, the quiet evidence of a morning routine that had begun, but never finished. Jennifer had come home, showered, gotten ready, and then she was gone. Police were called, but because Jennifer was an adult, they initially held that she may have left of her own accord. Her family knew better. That evening, they blanketed the neighborhood with flyers. Then came the first real break and the first real nightmare. 2 days after Jennifer disappeared, on Thursday, January the 26th, a tenant at a nearby apartment complex spotted a car on the local news. It looked familiar. He called police. It was Jennifer's black 2004 Chevrolet Malibu, parked just 1.2 miles from her condominium, where it had been sitting abandoned for days. Investigators pulled surveillance footage from the parking lot's hidden cameras. What they found was both a clue and a dead end. At approximately noon on January 24th, the very day Jennifer vanished, a single individual was captured on camera parking her car and walking away. Calm, unhurried, deliberate. The camera snapped a photo every 3 seconds. 3 frames. 3 chances to capture a face. And in every single one, the person's face was perfectly obscured by a chain link fence. The FBI was brought in. NASA enhanced the footage. Analysts studied every pixel. All they could determine was that the person of interest stood somewhere between 5 feet 3 inches and 5 feet 5 inches. Male or female. Unknown. Identity. Unknown. To this day, a search dog tracked a scent from the abandoned car all the way back to Jennifer's apartment complex, suggesting the suspect may have returned on foot after dumping the vehicle. But there was nothing else. No witnesses, no trail. The car itself told a grim story. It had been wiped down. A single latent fingerprint. A small DNA fiber, that was all. Jennifer's valuables were still inside, ruling out robbery. But her cell phone, her purse, her keys, her briefcase, her iPod, and the clothes she was wearing that morning were all missing. Her phone remained off. Her bank card was never used again. Investigators turned over every stone. Her ex-boyfriend, Kidnapper, recently emotional about the breakup and wanting to reconcile, was questioned and cleared. Her current boyfriend was questioned and cleared. A manager at her workplace, forensic examination of her computer revealed, had pursued a romantic interest in Jennifer that she had firmly rejected. He was interviewed multiple times and ultimately ruled out. Then investigators looked at something closer to home. At the time of Jennifer's disappearance, her condominium complex was undergoing a major construction expansion. Workers were constantly on site. And Jennifer had told family members repeatedly that some of those workers catcalled her, whistled at her, and harassed her every time she walked to her car. Due to a significant language barrier, investigators were unable to question many of them. No leads emerged. No arrests were made. The trail went cold. In May 2007, Jennifer's employer offered a $1 million reward for information leading to her whereabouts, with the condition that she be found alive. The deadline came and went. No one came forward. Not a single person claimed it. Years passed. The case transferred from the Orlando Police Department to the FBI in 2010. In 2018, Jennifer's parents sued the OPD for access to case files. And after a legal battle, they received 16,000 pages of records in 2019. They read every page, looking for answers a police department had failed to give them. By December 2022, the case was handed to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's Cold Case Unit, who committed to retesting evidence and re-interviewing persons of interest, some of whom Jennifer's family alleged had never been properly questioned. Then on May 20th, 2025, Jennifer's 44th birthday, the FDLE made an announcement that gave her family something they hadn't had in nearly 2 decades: hope. After speaking with approximately 45 people and reviewing thousands of pages of documents, investigators confirmed they had identified several persons of interest. The case, they declared, was no longer cold. And perhaps most remarkably, they revealed that artificial intelligence was now being applied to the blurry surveillance footage, the same 3 frames that had haunted investigators for 19 years. The same obscured face behind a chain-link fence. AI, they said, may finally be able to tell us who that person is. 5 months later, in October 2025, Jennifer's father, Drew, made another announcement. New DNA evidence had been found, within samples that had never been tested before, contradicting the original police claim that DNA was only recovered from the steering wheel. The pool of suspects, Drew said, had been significantly narrowed. We now have a better chance at finding Jennifer than in previous years. Nearly 2 decades of silence, of dead ends, of a family fighting a system that kept moving on while they stayed frozen in time. Jennifer Kesse was 24 years old when she vanished between her front door and her car on an ordinary Tuesday morning. She had her whole life in front of her. The person who parked her car that day knew exactly what they were doing. They walked away calmly, disappeared into the city, and for 19 years, got away with it. But the footage still exists. The DNA still exists. And now for the first time, so does the technology to read both. Jennifer Kesse is still missing. If you have information about her disappearance, contact the Florida Department of Law Enforcement or the FBI.